Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. I am excited to see all of the beautiful faces out there. My own wife would have been here tonight, but she said, Tyrone, I gotta go pray for you. And so she went to Israel. And I was like, you know God could hear you anywhere. But she went all the way to Israel for that. Well, anyhow, welcome to Mayor Terry Tornick's 2020 State of the City event. I am Vice Mayor Tyrone Hampton. I am the city council member who represents the 1st District, and you are in the 1st District right now, and this is where education happens, in the 1st District, right here at John Muir High School, right? Before I begin, I'd like to give a big round of applause to the to all those here from John Muir Early College Magnet School. Whose house? I'm just checking one more time. Whose house? There we go. I know I'm in a friendly place. So, I hope you had the opportunity before you guys came in this evening. The marching band was here, directed by Karen Clages. Did everybody have opportunity to hear that? If you haven't figured it out by now, I am a proud Mustang, and I thoroughly enjoy coming back to this campus whenever the opportunity presents itself. I'd like to invite you all this weekend to come back to Muir and keep Muir beautiful. On Saturday, January 18th at 8 a.m. to noon, the annual Day On, Not Off Community Service Day will take place here at Muir. To honor the legacy of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., volunteers from the community will be planting, sprucing up this campus. Everyone is welcome to come. Eagles, Griffins, Vikings, Lancers, Minutemen, Panthers, Tigers, Cubs, and yes, Bulldogs. There's one or two of y'all up in here. Y'all might as well be, there you go. Yeah, act like you belong. Come on, baby. But as long as you remember, whose house? That's all. I'm just checking. I know from personal experience that Muir is a welcoming campus where students excel in academics and athletics. Just last month, our varsity football team made an historic run at a division championship game. The team had an amazing season. Over the next few months, our Muir seniors will be receiving college acceptance letters, making decisions about the next steps and past their life educational journey. The John Muir High School class of 2019, just so you know, 2019 class of the class that just graduated, had the highest percentage of students accepted into UCLA and PUSD. UCLA is one of the hardest schools to get into, by the way, just letting you know that. Unless you went to SC, somebody's probably like, man, that's why I went to SC. No, I didn't go to either school, so it didn't really make a difference to me. I went to Muir. I look forward to finding out what's next for our Mustangs, the class of 2020. Go Mustangs. Many Muir students are already taking college-level courses here on this campus because of a partnership with Pasadena City College. The sky is the limit for these bright young people. Whose house? That never gets tired, I tell you that. Now it is my pleasure to introduce two proud Mustangs who will help kick off this evening by leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. These students will introduce to us some of the members of our PUSD family here tonight, who are here with us tonight. And they will also share with us some information about life here on John Muir's campus. Please welcome to the podium, Madam President Sadia Usher and sophomore Ella Ayuriu. Whose house?
Good evening, everyone. So Good evening and welcome to John Muir High School, home of the Mighty Mustangs. My name is Saudia Usher, and for this past year, I've been given the amazing opportunity of being Associative Student Body President. It's been a great honor, and I've been able to contribute to a long-lasting legacy here at John Muir. I'd like to welcome the city of Pasadena at our newly renovated and newly reopened auditorium. It's amazing and it's beautiful, so can we just clap it up for that? And also, on behalf of John Muir's alumni, our amazing administration, and our student body, we are pleased to host the Pasadena Mayor's City of State Address, so thank you for this. And on that note, I'd like to introduce my friend and my fellow Mustang, Ella Urio, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Please stand and place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated. Thank you to the lovely choir director, Ms. Cassandra Franklin, and choir members Daniela Trujillo, Anthony Castaneda, Alberto Hernandez, Karita Rickman, Amani Hayes, and Carla Mendez.
It is my pleasure to introduce our Pasadena Unified School District Superintendent, Dr. McDonald. My favorite principal, John Muir Principal Dr. Gray. And school board members, Miss Kim Kenny, Miss Elizabeth Pomeroy, Mr. Patrick Cahaland, Miss Michelle Bailey, Mr. Roy Bogorgian, and lastly, Mr. Lawrence Torres. For over 60 years, John Muir has strived to enable its students and provide them with a purpose and a power while serving our community. Muir has been an outstanding representation of what our mission statement is. They're preparing students for life after graduation, whether it be college, career, or both. We proudly boast a graduation rate of over 90%, and our students have earned thousands of dollars in scholarships and grants in the last 2 years. That's pretty amazing. now named John Muir Early College Magnet, we offer numerous academic, social, athletic, and cultural opportunities, ranging from our new boys and girls water polo team, which this is their first year, so it's amazing for them, to our solar panel boat racing club, our track and field team, as well as our band and our choir. John Muir is unique. We're a magnet school, which means that students are able to experience different career paths. We have engineering, business, and arts, and take free community college courses while still being under the care and security of going to a high school. We here at John Muir are tradition-bound, maintaining our spirit and the bell for years. But what has really brought us together has been our sense of community. As a high school student here, I personally have experienced this sense of community. Whether it be hanging out in my classes for the last 3 years, cheering at football games, organizing pep rallies, or just hanging out in the quad at lunch. You see, here at Muir, our administration and staff have been able to foster a sense of community by cultivating an inclusive and loving environment for everyone on campus. And for me, graduation is rapidly approaching. And I would like to say that I'm indebted to everyone on campus. My peers, the counselors, the teachers, other parents, and definitely our principals. It's hard to imagine how I could repay this school or the community for all of its time, its effort, its devotion, all of this that they've poured into me. But there's one thing that I do know. This is a community. Pasadena is a community, and I'll always support it. And I know that it'll always support me. And from the entire Mustang family, we'd like to welcome you to our incredible campus. Thank you.
I almost started crying. I was like, man, that's exactly how I feel about Muir too. For real, that was awesome. All right. Now, we just heard, you guys have heard Kurt Franklin, right? Has anybody heard Kurt Franklin? No, maybe not. Aretha Franklin? Okay, you just heard from Cassandra Franklin and our Muir choir, right? The Franklins know music, I'll tell you that. So, I'd also like to thank Sadia and Ella. Thank you so much for the kind words about Muir and life, what is going on here at Muir. It is amazing what's going on here. We are getting close to the main event, and I hear people chanting Terry's name. Did I hear that? Terry. I hear it, I feel it, oh man. This is Mayor Terry Tornick's fifth State of the City address. And this is the 5th time he has hosted this in a Pasadena public school. The previous events were held at McKinley, Washington, Marshall, and PHS, Pasadena High School for the abbreviation. This is the first address the mayor has held in an auditorium, so it's unique, like John Muir is. Whose house? I'm telling you, that just doesn't get old. Hosting the State of the City event in a public school campus has been intentional on our mayor's part. He's a strong supporter of Pasadena Unified School District, and tonight's State of the City symbolizes the fruitful relationship between the city and Pasadena Unified School District. It is important that the city and PUSD continue to work together to make Pasadena the most vibrant city it can be. I am grateful to PUSD for hosting the State of the City for the 5th time. Thank you for all you do for our children and the families in our city. Thank you again, Dr. Gray in the back with the yellow and gold tie on. Appreciate that. Dr. McDonald, where I see you right here in the front. Dr. McDonald, thank you so much, and all the PUSD faculty and staff who make PUSD such a great place and a community for our kids to enjoy and learn and live in. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please, before I introduce the mayor, there's a couple of dignitaries in the room that I would like to acknowledge. One of the groups is walking out, but the Pasadena Cheer Squad, John Muir Cheer Squad, so sorry. Well, they all from Pasadena though. Please stand when you hear your title. My fellow city council members, we have with us tonight Victor Gordo. By the way, you guys are all spread out, so I hope I see everybody. We have with us tonight Jean Masuda. We have with us tonight Andy Wilson. We have with us tonight Margaret McGostin. And actually, you should give her a bigger round of applause because this may be the last one, actually it will be the last one that she participates as a city council member. I know she'll be coming to these because it's just so hard not to. We also have with us tonight John J. Kennedy. Also with us is Pasadena City College trustees. Any Pasadena City College trustees, please stand if you are with us tonight. Well, thank you anyways. We're on your campus too. I also saw with us tonight, is the president of Pasadena City College with us tonight? Okay, I didn't see her. Assistant President, Dr. Bell. I saw William Sims, the director of the campus here. Is he still with us? Maybe he's taken off. Okay, well, thank you, Pasadena City College, anyhow, for great education. Representing the office, representatives from the office, Congresswoman Judy Chu. State Senator Anthony Portantino's office. That's Dominic Corey, by the way, and he is a bulldog. Thank you so much for coming here. Is it hot? Is it hot? State Assembly Member Chris Holden's office. And Anne Marie is a Mustang. Yes. Board members, staff of the Hollywood Burbank Airport, please stand. There we go. If anybody feels like they need to get away, she's the one. I'll let her. Thank you. City of Pasadena City Manager Steve Mermel. The City Attorney Michelle Bonaris could not be, I don't think she's here with us tonight, but thank you. And also our City Clerk, Mark Jomsky. We love you, Mark. Finally, the important work that the City of Pasadena accomplishes each year would not be possible without the help of those who serve in various city commissions, committees, operating companies, and members of the Pasadena Youth Council. Please stand. Thank you for your service. Now it is my honor to introduce the person we've all been waiting for. There, Terry. Mayor Terry Tornick and his wife and his family first made Pasadena their home in 1982. Wow, that's 1 year before I was born. He's always one up in me. He's always one up, man. I'm trying to catch up. For nearly 40 years, Terry has served the city's the city in various capacities. In 2009, he was elected to represent District 7 on the City Council. In 2015, he became the city's second citywide elected mayor. As mayor, Terry set some important goals related to addressing the city's financial stability, strengthening PUSD, working on the environment, improving the city's quality of life, and lowering crime. Over the past 5 years, working together with the City Council, he has made progress towards achieving those goals. The City Council took on the task of preventing deficit spending by reorganizing departments and streamlining procedures with more efficiencies to cut costs. With your help, we were able to maintain and enhance city services by passing Measure I in 2018. The city's budget is balanced, but we're always constantly in search of ways to increase efficiencies. The mayor says all the time, we cannot have a great city without great public schools. And that is so true. So we, the council, asked you, the voters, for your permission to help our public schools financially. With overwhelming support, the voters supported Measure J. Each day, the relationship between Pasadena Unified School District and the city gets stronger. PUSD, thank you for building the minds of our young people so that they could build our city. Thank you, PUSD. Terry, thank you for your vision and leadership. I could go on and on and on and on about all the things that the mayor's been working on. Environmental goals, improving the quality of life, supporting those in need, and lowering crime. All the tasks the city council is united in accomplishing. However, it is the time to turn the meeting over to the man of the hour, the man, the myth, the legend. I hope you are as eager as I am to hear what the mayor has in store for us. When we put aside differences and we work together and we listen to one another with care and compassion and love and concern, we can accomplish great things as a city. Please join me in giving a warm Mustang in the city of Pasadena welcome to the man of the hour, Terry Tornick.
Tough act to follow. Thank you, Tyrone. We all appreciate your service as vice mayor and as a proud Mustang. But I'm not going to do the house thing. But welcome to this beautiful facility, and our thanks again to PUSD for letting us showcase another of its completed Prop TT projects. It is a continuing privilege to serve as your mayor, and I appreciate your coming out tonight in the face of a pending storm. I thought there'd be a couple of dozen people, and we just huddled together in the auditorium. So thank you for showing up. I also appreciate my family's attendance, my wife, my son, my daughter-in-law, and one of my granddaughters. The city charter requires that in January of each year, the mayor present a thematic budget message for the stated purpose of receiving and considering public suggestions and comments on the city budget prior to its preparation and ultimate approval by the city council. So for the past 4 years, I've devoted most of my State of the City speech to our finances. I've provided our residents with a background on how we pay for city services, alerted everyone that the day was coming when we could not rely on our sources of revenue to adequately pay our bills, and therefore proposed the 3/4 cent sales tax increase to the voters, which we've talked about already, Measures I and J, which happily passed overwhelmingly in November of 2018. That's allowed us to maintain city services without cuts and begin to invest in our infrastructure. Tonight, I'd like to continue the process by looking ahead and even longer term and discussing alternative spending strategies to keep our city strong. So now we begin with the charts. Forgive me. As a refresher, for those of you that attended the past 4 years, Chart A shows that our current FY 2019 general fund revenues are approximately $275 million. That's up from $245 million last year. The four biggest individual sources, which account for more than half of that revenue, remain property tax, $69.7 million, up $5 million from last year. Sales tax, $55.8 million, way up from $35 million last year, largely due to Measure I. Utility users tax, $27.5 million, and transient occupancy tax, that's from the hotels, $18.3 million, up from $17.5 million. Everything else, charges, fees, unpredictable intergovernmental transfers, equal $103.6 million. New development and rising property values will continue to be our primary source of revenue and revenue gains. Chart B shows by department how we spend the revenue that we collect. An additional $30 million not shown is non-departmental, like bond debt payments. The big four, as you can see, are police, $80.8 million, up from $77.3 last year, a 4.5% increase. Fire, $51.9 million, up from $48.1 million, 7.9% increase. Public Works, $23.2 million, up from $21.6 million, 7.4% increase. And our libraries. There are very few cities that can claim that in their big four spending that the public libraries are one of those, and you all are to be congratulated for that. We spend $11.9 million on the libraries, which is up from $11.5 million, a 3.4% increase. Everything else, all the other departments, human services, planning, transportation, $84.4 million. The city's contribution to the employee retirement system, CalPERS, continues to take a growing bite out of our budget and has received a lot of attention. Chart C shows the progression from $33 million in 2011 to $78 million in 2030. Viewed another way, this year, general fund payments to CalPERS will be 11.9% of our general fund budget. This compares favorably to Glendale at 18.2%. We're projected to top out in fiscal year 2024 at 14.3% of the general fund budget, then drop back down to 13% in 2030, while Sacramento is projected to be at 18% and Vallejo at 23.7%. The point is that as newer employees with modified benefits and contributions represent a larger proportion of our workforce, the pension bite begins to abate. There's also been a lot of attention paid to our reserves, as seen in Chart D, which are now greater than pre-recession levels. We've accomplished this by balancing our budgets, eliminating some staff positions, and adding savings generated by one-time payments. Additionally, starting in June of 2017, the City Council allocated $12 million to a special trust account for future pension and other post-employment benefit obligations, which now stands at $13.5 million. Chart E depicts a new 10-year projection of our future income and expenses. While reliability is reduced the further we push into the future, I think that the long-term trend lines are useful to examine. The city budget will always be under pressure from a desire to do more worthy things than we can afford to do. We have forecasted future revenues conservatively, and there are several things that could have a big positive impact on our revenues. For example, additional hotels, significant tax revenue from online sales, and restored federal or state funding. These could bend the revenue curve up in a meaningful way. On the expense side, we've built our reserves to try to protect against unanticipated expenses. But we must continue to be very disciplined in how we manage our spending, or we'll be confronted with the looming threat of the operating deficit all over again. With all of that in mind, since it appears that over the long term we seem to be okay, last year I asked how we should spend available funds, and we need to ask ourselves this question again. We could spend it on desirable new programs and hire additional personnel. However, if expenses grow at a faster rate than revenues, we would be building a structural deficit. We could put all the money in reserves or pay down some of our $500 million unfunded pension liability. This would be the most financially conservative approach, but it ignores some pressing current requirements that really shouldn't be deferred any longer. My proposal is a combination of building reserves and investing in capital improvements. This is the strategy that we adopted with the $11 million surplus generated by Measure I this year. We added $5 million to our general liability fund against higher insurance deductibles. We made a $3+ million contribution to the FPRS, that's the Fire Police Retirement System, unfunded liability, and we funded a new $3.9 million computer-aided dispatch system for the police department. I think that this is the best way to spend available dollars, and I hope that the public and ultimately the City Council will agree. Now, having exhausted you with the required financial portion of my message, please bear with me for a few minutes of easier to absorb current events and aspirational items. The 710 freeway, always a favorite. With state legislation, thanks to our legislators, confirming the demise of the connection between the 710 and the 210 freeways, we can now move ahead with a series of projects that will enhance transportation throughout the region and actually improve traffic flow in Pasadena. We hear a lot about traffic in Pasadena. Metro has now increased the allocation of funds to build a grade separation at the Gold Line and California Boulevard to $230 million. This is a big, complicated project. It will require much public discussion, careful planning, and sensitive design. I believe that the improvements in circulation and improved access to Huntington Memorial Hospital will make the expense and the short-term disruption worthwhile. But we'll be talking about this a lot. Beyond immediate improvements, we can also begin to address in earnest the future of the terrible ditch inflicted on our city in anticipation of the 710 freeway project. This is a legacy land use planning effort with all kinds of legal, design, and planning issues, but it will result in recapturing approximately 50 acres in the heart of our city for productive uses. To get a head start on what will take decades to complete, the city manager has assembled a staff task force to begin to define the issues. I'm really excited about this effort, and I look forward to a broad public discussion once we've better defined the opportunity. Next, the Arroyo Seco. More than a year ago, I announced a new effort to focus attention on our city's most valuable open space, the Arroyo Seco. A volunteer committee worked long and hard to examine the most pressing issues confronting this wonderful resource and to develop ideas on how we might improve it. This, like the discussion of the recapture of the 710 right-of-way, is a long-term project. However, the Arroyo Advisory Group has evolved into the nonprofit One Arroyo Foundation, which has begun to raise funds to implement the recommended demonstration trails project. To support this effort, the County of Los Angeles has agreed to provide $2.5 million to the Army Corps of Engineers so that they can restart their large-scale habitat restoration study for the Arroyo, which could have profound long-term benefits. Supervisor Barger has also committed $500,000 in Prop A park funding to the Demonstration Trails project. We're grateful to the county for all of its support to this priceless resource. And some other noteworthy issues. There are some important matters to reference before closing. Homelessness is the most pressing problem facing our city. While our homeless count is down 20%, there are still more than 300 people sleeping on Pasadena streets every night, and that's simply wrong. We will continue to work with our nonprofit partners and the county to build additional permanent supportive housing and other facilities to drive this number down further. With regard to the police, our chief, John Perez, is in the middle of reorganizing his department with a renewed commitment to community policing and progressive policies to minimize use of force and to ensure that all of our residents can rely on equitable treatment. Cannabis, one of my favorite subjects. The application and selection process is well underway for legal sales, cultivation, and testing facilities per the direction of our voters, twice. It has been complicated, controversial, litigious, and has devoured far more staff time than we would like. But we do hope that some retail stores will be operational this year. With regard to the general plan and land use, public meetings to formulate the detailed specific plans are continuing and are offering new opportunities for residents to share the vision of what our city will look like over the next 20 years. Unhappily, the shortage of affordable housing has resulted in state intervention in land use regulations that have traditionally been within the purview of local government. This will complicate local planning efforts and create lots of additional controversy. Some noteworthy development projects that should be referenced. There are dramatic changes underway on the campus of what was formerly William Carey University in North Pasadena, and will be soon EF Prep School for 1,000 foreign students, high school students. On the other hand, Fuller's decision to remain in Pasadena will mean less change on their campus. The new Kaiser Medical School should begin operation this year, and construction continues on the largest development in the city's, the largest development project in the city's history on the Parsons campus in Old Pasadena. Councilmember McAustin and Tournament President Farber have highlighted the impending 100th anniversary of the adoption of the 19th Amendment, which finally guaranteed women the right to vote. The city is engaged in a multi-year commemoration, and you'll be hearing more about that. Local elections. This year will mark the first time that the city will conduct its elections on the state and federal cycle. All of us have a stake in the outcome, some of us more than others. But I urge all of you to participate and pay attention to the local races, not just the national ones. And finally, the census. There's a table outside. On April 1st, 2020, National Census Day will happen, and it's absolutely critical that every resident in Pasadena is counted. It impacts our federal funding, our representation, and the future of our city. So please do what you can to get everyone to participate in the census and not to be afraid. In sum, the state of our city is good, and equally important, I believe the trend line is positive. Our residents have always been actively engaged in our decision-making, mostly in a positive and civil manner. I'm sure that this will continue as we debate details of how to achieve our goals. In turn, the City Council and the staff will continue to work hard to maintain the positive trend and to secure an improved quality of life for all of our residents. I wish you all a Happy New Year. Thank you. I hope that this evening has been useful for you, and I must thank those who helped put it together. Special thanks again to Muir High School Principal Gray, students, and faculty. From the Office of the Mayor and City Council, Jonna Stewart, who's been doing this magic. Araceli Mellum and Rhonda Stone. Pasadena Media's Chris Miller, Bobby Ferguson, and Danny Hess. Our Finance Director, Matt Hawksworth, and Public Information Officer, Lisa Dedarian. And from the Department of Human Services, Director Brenda Harvey-Williams, Lola Osborne, Leonardo Chavez, and the redoubtable Dolores Mendoza. Also, our Northwest Program ambassadors, and of course, our city manager, Steve Mermel. I will say that in the introduction and standing of everyone, the one group that sort of got left out, I think, were our city staff, department heads and staff. I would like them to stand and be acknowledged. Don't be shy. Thank you. Now, I'd like to follow my personal preference of having at least some questions in any meeting that I conduct. I would ask you to please ask actual questions rather than speechify. And if you're not called, please send me an email or a note and I'll respond. Thank you. So let's, who's got the microphones? The ambassadors. So I'll recognize you and then they'll bring a microphone to you. Who has a question that have answered? Whoa. We have one here. Thank you. Please keep your hand up so they can see you.
Good evening, Mayor. I'm a resident of District 2. My name is Louise Bell. It's my daughter, Jasmine Bell. In listening to your speech, with your ending being the future looks positive for Pasadena, I noted that per your charts, you indicated that property taxes and developer fees are the primary sources of revenue for the city, which seems to be leading to a lot of gentrification of the city, exacerbating home affordability and homelessness. So it just seems like a contradiction of the state of affairs for the city to me. So I ask that you explain how the city will continue to be the place that I loved when I moved here. It was a very diverse place.
Thank you. Let me try to answer that question.
Okay, thanks.
So I think that it's an absolutely valid point that as Pasadena becomes a more desirable place to live and work, that one of the sort of the other side of that coin, positive thing from a revenue point of view, is that some people some families and individuals who have lived here for generations are being priced out. And that is a continuing problem. It impacts our diversity. It impacts the population for PUSD that we've talked about a lot tonight. We're very cognizant of that. Some of that. Thanks, John. John Kennedy is our primary sound technician. Some of that relates to regional forces that are beyond our control, but to the extent that the city can intervene in that, what we've been attempting to do is change our policy so that, for example, Pasadena has an inclusionary housing ordinance, which means that any new development that happens in Pasadena, any new residential development, has to have at least 20% of the units devoted to affordable housing. We've just bumped that up from 15%. Some people wanted us to go further, but for now we're at 20%. That's been in place in Pasadena for more than a decade, and I think it's been successful. But I think we do need to recognize that the city will continue to change and evolve, and we are losing people that we would very much like to keep. So we'll continue to chip away at that problem, do everything we can to retain affordable housing and build new affordable housing. But we have to acknowledge that is a problem that confronts the city. Who else? Yeah, I'd like to focus on Pasadena residents if I can. Are there any other questions from Pasadena people? All right. Yes, Howie?
There's been a huge increase in some fees from the city, mainly the power this last time. Can you assure us that the city, do you have a figure of what you would feel comfortable with raising fees for taxes or services to our citizens? I know that 5% they've been looking at landlords. Would the city consider making a pledge to hold increases in fees and taxes to 5%, or what figure would you think would be an acceptable figure?
So no, I can't make that pledge. I'd like to, but I can't. What I will tell you is that the city has been doing everything as it can to try to minimize the increases, particularly in utilities. And it's so interesting because I was on a panel with some other candidates the other night that was hosted by the Arroyo Seco Foundation, and it was a green group, you know. I mean, it was a group of advocates for environmental progress and the Green New Deal, and we had this dialogue, a little bit of a dialogue, mostly an uncomfortable dialogue, about the fact that the city is not going to be 100% green by 2020, and 2030, sorry. And one of the reasons for that is that we have long-term contract for non-green energy, and we have to be mindful of what the impacts of moving too fast with some technology are on the rates. I get personally emails from people on fixed income, from seniors and from others who are very much concerned about their utility bills. So we're trying, like so many other things, we're trying to balance a couple of objectives that are not always compatible. On the one hand, we want to be as green as we can, as fast as we can. On the other hand, we want to be mindful of the rate increases that you're describing. We've done a pretty good job, I think, of trying to minimize rate increases, but we have had them, and we will have them. And I don't want to kid you about that. I can't pick a number that I think is a sacred one that I can make a pledge to. But what I can tell you is that the City Council and the staff and the people from PWP are very mindful of the issue, and will do everything that we can to keep the rate increases down. Part of the other problem, and that I know you've had, and you've been polite not to raise it, is that we're also in the process of restructuring the rate structure. And anytime you change an existing format, some people win and some people lose. You know, it's a kind of it seems unfair. But we're trying to create a more generally equitable structure, and one that reflects changing conditions. But we listen. We hear what you have to say, and we are mindful of it, and I understand the issue. Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, Mayor. My name is Gonzalez, and I'm a resident of District 3 for 20 years. And I'm glad to hear that the city and the school district has a closer relationship. So my question is in regards to the recent school closures. There's hundreds of families going through that painful transition. And my question to you is there a system in place to track the renters and ID these families of low income to completely offset the displacement and prevent any future school closures?
Well, I participated with I attended the PUSD meetings, as you know, because you saw me there, and watched the pain that the PUSD board went through in terms of that whole school closure experience. And I've told people that from my point of view as a public official, there is no more sort of excruciating exercise that any public official could go through than having to close a school and tell parents who are committed and their children who are committed to their school that that school is going to close. So I understand the imperative. The district with declining enrollment can no longer sustain the same infrastructure, the same number of schools that it's had traditionally. Those choices are never good ones. I think the expectation is that if they've done their work correctly and we can help them adequately, that they can eliminate future school closures and that we won't have to go through this pain again. But I'm supportive of what the district did. There was no good choice that they could make. I think they did the best they could under the circumstances, and we will now work with the district in terms of trying to continue to assist them beyond Measure J, but also in terms of the repurposing of the school campuses and any other way we can be of assistance to them moving forward to try to increase their revenues, make them stronger so that we can avoid any future school closures. Thank you. I think I'm going to call it, and I appreciate your coming tonight. Please look at the information that's in the back, and thanks for coming.